Welcome to POS 454 Foreign Policies of African States. Lecture 1 Understanding Foreign Policy. The international arena is made up of various entities. These include states, non-governmental organizations, multinational corporations, and many more, including each of us as individuals. These entities relate with themselves in various ways. Foreign policy thus arises from the need to address the mutual relations among these various entities in the international community. The main purpose of this lecture is for you to have a clear understanding of what foreign policy is. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to define foreign policy, differentiate between the two environments of foreign policy, describe how this environment affects foreign policy. In other words, we have various definitions of foreign policy. F.S. North Edge defines foreign policy as the interplay between the outside and the inside, suggesting that foreign policy is a reaction to external stimuli while reflecting on domestic realities. Joseph Frankel, on his part, describes foreign policy to consist of decisions and actions which involve to some appreciable extent relations between one state and another. In other words, it is a dynamic process involving interaction between the domestic and the external environment, and in accordance with the national interests of the states concerned. Mark Gowon defines foreign policy as the actions of national or central government taken towards other actors external to the legal sovereignty of the initiating government. On his part, Wilkenfeld defines it as those official actions and reactions which sovereign states initiate or receive and subsequently react to for the purpose of altering or creating a condition or problem outside their territorial sovereign boundaries. J.C. Plano and R. Alton define foreign policy as the strategy or planned course of action developed by the decision makers of a state vis-a-vis other states or international entities aimed at achieving specific goals defined in terms of the national interest. And to Ayo Akinbobola, foreign policy refers to the actions of a state towards the external environment with the ultimate aim and objective of achieving specific goals towards the enhancement of the national interest. You will notice that the main emphasis of these definitions is the interactions of or relations between countries or states in the international arena, focusing on the factors that guide these interactions. You need to bear it in mind that no state can survive in the international arena on its own without interacting with other states. These interactions take place for a variety of reasons. All countries interact with one or more countries for different reasons. Therefore, for the purpose of this course, let us take foreign policy to mean the strategy or tactics a country employs in its relations with other countries. In other words, we can refer to foreign policy as a course of action designed to facilitate the achievement of a country's objectives in the international arena or in relations with other countries. You will notice that the main emphasis of these definitions is the interactions or relations between countries or states in the international arena, focusing on the factors that guide these interactions. You need to bear it in mind that no state can survive in the international arena on its own without interacting with other states. These interactions take place for a variety of reasons. All countries interact with one or more countries for different reasons. Therefore, for the purpose of this course, let us take foreign policy to mean strategy. It serves as a framework that guides a state's relations with another state or other states, and these relations may either lead to conflict or cooperation, friendship or hostility, peace or war. It is a primary instrument for the conduct and management of the relationship between a country and other countries, and its goal is to protect and promote the national interests of the country. By national interest, we mean the totality or the aggregate of interests of individuals and groups within a state. Foreign policy choices range from the dramatic to the routine. Leaders make decisions to go to war, make peace, form an alliance, establish diplomatic relations, implement a position on nuclear non-proliferation, impose economic sanctions, or ratify global environmental agreements. The successful conduct of foreign policies protests and advances a country's national interests and contributes to the preservation and enhancement of its status and power without being unduly detrimental to the national interest, power and status of others. It seeks to avoid conflict and, where this is not possible, to minimize the likely damage to that country's national interest, power and status. In essence, foreign policy is designed to promote, protect and defend a country's national interests, which include the preservation of national sovereignty, defense of territorial integrity, preservation of national sovereignty, promotion of economic interests, protection of the country's national prestige, as well as the acquisition of power in order to be able to influence international events. There are two basic environments that determine foreign policy: domestic or internal, and international or external environment. In other words, the process of foreign policy decision-making are influenced by factors that are internal to the state initiating the particular policy, and also by pressures from sources that are external to it. Domestic environment. Domestic environment describes all the features, factors, and forces that are peculiar to a state from which the policy is being formulated, which may enhance or hinder the foreign policy choices. This includes the country's history, culture, geographical location, natural attributes, endowment of natural resources, nature of the political system, quality and quantity of the population, and so on. These features intrude in varying degrees into the decision-making process, either by limiting the possibility of actions or by enhancing the potential or the ability of a state to respond to the external environment. Environment of foreign policy. External environment. This describes the recipient of foreign policy. It is the international system into which foreign policy is directed. In other words, it is the primary destination of all foreign policy output. This includes the country's immediate neighbors. For example, Nigeria's immediate neighbors are Niger, Chad, Republic of Benin, and Cameroon. Regional grouping of states, e.g., the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, countries on the same continent, international institutions, multinational organizations, and other actors in the international system. The external environment is a dynamic one, that is, it is constantly changing. While it may sometimes be predictable, most of the time it is unpredictable. That is, events that occur in the international arena most of the time are often not anticipated. Countries have no choice but to react to these events as they unfold. For example, the September 11, 2001 terrorist attack on the United States of America led to a series of actions and reactions in the international community, including the war against terror led by the US. Summary. 1. Foreign policy serves as a framework that guides the interactions among states in the international community. 2. Protection and promotion of the national interests of the state is a primary objective of foreign policy. 3. The two basic environments of foreign policy are domestic and external. 4. Domestic environment describes all the features, factors, and forces that are peculiar to a state from which the policy is being formulated, which may enhance or hinder the foreign policy choices. 5. External environment is a primary destination of all foreign policy outputs. It is largely unpredictable. End of lecture 1. Thanks for listening.